This is intimidation. New South Wales police need to call it out and they need to stamp it out.
Got my eyes straight ahead, got my head in the game. With the red light on, I'm just waiting for the change. Keep my head down low.
Hi, Jay Fallon. This is the slippery slope. So let me take you back to the time during the pandemic, sorry, when it seemed to me, I was still a part of the Queensland Police Service up until 2022, but it seemed to me during that time that police across our nation were being used, well, they were being weaponized by state governments. That's what it seemed like. Yeah, if you'd recall several stories out of Victoria, um, two that come to mind are one when the pastor, the minister, had put a post up on Facebook saying, "Hey, well, our church is not going to be intimidated. We're not going to shut down." Police went around and publicly arrested him. He was held in the watch house for like 7 days. Weird thing to be held for that long. Anyway, a pregnant female, young, very small pregnant female, uh, had put up another post on Facebook. Police went around to execute a warrant at like 9 o'clock at night for some weird reason. Nine, you only go around that late at night if you're really trying to make a point, is what I would say. So execute a warrant. They charged her, let the let the charges hang over her head for I think it was the best part of 2 years, and then just before it went to court, they pulled the charges. Hey, it's all good, nothing more to see here. You've just had to deal with this for a couple of years. You can't move on with your life because we're basically just intimidating you. So that was Victorian police. We had very similar cases in New South Wales. Police were sent around to, neighbours would go and dob on other neighbours because people were out in the backyard or having a little gathering or something in their own properties, or neighbours just reporting people because they thought they weren't doing the right thing. Police coming around. There was heaps of footage getting around on Insta and Facebook and all that, TikTok especially, where it seemed like police were just intimidating people. In Queensland, I remember a case specifically where a group of ladies, middle-aged women, I'm going to say about in their 40s or so, sitting in a cafe. They were making a bit of a ruckus because they didn't want to wear masks. They didn't want to put on masks. To me, it seemed like you had a group of women who obviously, I would have said they were scared. They were feeling a little, what would you say? Just, nothing's right in society. Nothing was right in the world. And they're out trying to have a coffee, having a little bit of a protest, I suppose, in their own way against the mask, against all the mandates. And it seemed to me that they were just a group who was scared, didn't really know what to do, how to handle a situation. And what do Queensland Police do? They sent a bunch of, I think I counted 10 officers, all fairly big guys, and just stood around staring them down. Again, intimidation tactics. So I'm saying all this because just the other day, so the chap, former senior constable Christian White, who well, who has been convicted of manslaughter, and he's just awaiting sentencing for some weird reason. Very, I don't know why. So he was allowed out on bail while he's waiting sentencing. So he wasn't held. Strange. Anyway, so he's. I'm going to bring up this report. I want to. I'll give a shout out. Thanks to Oz Police Scandals. I saw this on their YouTube site, Oz Police Scandals. So just going to bring up this report. This is Seven News. So just to clarify before we go into this, what Seven News is doing, I really don't like it. I don't like this kind of journalisming. To me, it also seems like Seven News are guilty of intimidation in their own way. Harassing someone, even though I just think there comes a point the man's already gone through the process. He's just awaiting sentencing now. Do you really have to harass him like this? Anyway, so let's watch what happens here. And I'm going to talk about the actions of the police officer and New South Wales police. So stay tuned for that at the end.
Good afternoon. He's a convicted killer and unemployed, but Christian White is trying to resume his normal routine here in Cooma as he awaits sentencing over the tasering of Claire Nowland. Out on bail doing the usual daycare drop-off, Christian White knows his life is far from normal. How does it feel to be spending Christmas with your family? Do you have a message for the Nowland family? Days after being found guilty of manslaughter, the sacked senior constable who tasered and killed Claire Nowland is trying to make the most of time with family while out on bail. Are you prepared to go to prison? Why are you maintaining your silence? White appeared frustrated after facing our questions, even flagging down a former colleague.
I love that. White appeared frustrated. Why won't you answer our questions? Well, really, I've just dropped off my daughter to daycare. Just want to go back here. Just sorry.
Even flagging down a former colleague to complain. Seconds later, our crew was pulled over for a random breath test just after 9 this morning. Is there a reason you're pulling us over?
Couple of reasons. First of all, just a random breath test. Yep. Second of all, someone just called the police in relation to the media. I assume it's got.
So, did you hear that? He said a couple of reasons. First of all, this is just a random breath test. Now, the statement that he makes there, first off, a couple of reasons. First of all, this is just a random breath test. He said this is a random breath test for a specific reason because you need a lawful reason to be able to pull someone over. So you can pull someone over for a random breath test, okay? And when in the midst of this investigation, this random breath test, you're investigating the possibility of, driving under the influence. So in New South Wales, you can pull someone over for a drink, for a breath test or a lick test. So they have that ability. You need, as far as I know, you would need that reasonable suspicion, but they still have that ability. No matter what your driving is like, you can, even if you're not driving all over the road and your driving seems fine, they can still pull you over. But when he says a couple of reasons, first of all, this is just a random breath test. Well, it's not random. You'll find out in a second. There's nothing random about it because he had a reason. He's just thrown in the random breath test just to cover himself, just to cover the real reason why he's pulled them over.
Got something to do with.
I was going to go back here for a second.
To the media, I assume it's got something to do with. First of all, just a random breath test.
A couple of reasons, breath test.
Second of all, someone just called the police in relation to the media. I assume it's got something to do with a matter that's obviously before the court, not before the court.
New South Wales Police.
So he says, I assume it's got something to do with the matter that's obviously before the court or not before the court. Well, either it is or it isn't. And it is still before the court because he's still got to go for sentencing. So it is still before the court. There's nothing random about it. It's a targeted breath test because someone has called the police regarding the media. So there's nothing random about it. He's just put it in there to cover his butt.
Police claims the officer just happened to be patrolling the area, but Claire Nowland's granddaughter, who lives in Cooma.
Okay, so here you go. I've pulled up a Sydney criminal lawyer's webpage to talk about because I was a copper in Queensland. So just make sure we've got the right information here. So it says talking about rights when pulled over by police. So many motor vehicle users are unsure about their rights. So we've answered 6 of the top questions. When can police pull me over? Police can pull you over if they have a reasonable suspicion that you're committing an offence. They can pull you over for a random breath or lick test, even if you or your driving do not show any signs of intoxication. This means that police have very broad power to pull vehicles over. So this is why the police officer added in. He's first put in this point that first of all, just pulled you over for a random breath test. Second of all, there's been reports, there's been a complaint. So the second point negates the first one. There was nothing really random about it. He's just put it in there to cover his butt. As they used to say, you always do things in the police to COA, cover your A. So basically, the police have the right to pull someone over for a random breath test or lick test in New South Wales. But like I said, there was nothing random about that. To me, that was just an intimidation tactic. That's all it was intimidation. Now, I don't like what Channel 7 were doing there. I don't think I don't think it's reasonable. I don't think it's actually warranted. To be honest, the man's already been charged, convicted. He's just awaiting sentencing. What's the point in going to do that? It's just a bit of clickbait reporting, really. What I've got an issue with is what police are doing. Like I said, during the pandemic, we had all these police who were weaponized throughout our states and used to go out and target people, to go out and intimidate people, intimidate people into conforming into the will of the government, even though you didn't agree. And now we have New South Wales police. Your man who's been sacked, he was charged, he was convicted, he's awaiting sentencing. The police commissioner publicly informed everyone that he's been sacked. He no longer has a job. And then yet we have police officers, brazenly intimidating intimidating members of the public, reporters. As much as I don't like what they were doing, as in the reporters, the police cannot. But they've learnt this behaviour. This is the issue, and I think we've got this coming from obviously from the top down. Police during the pandemic, they've learnt. It's been ingrained, I think, that we're allowed to intimidate. They've gotten this attitude that yep, no, okay, we've had this mandate from the government allowing us to go out and intimidate the public, and I think this is just learned behaviour. This is just carried on from then, and this is an issue that we have in Australia across most of our states. I would say intimidation has been allowed to go on for far too long. It's been backed by the government, and police now just continue on, and they're so brazen, even in front of a TV crew who you would think it's obvious they're going to be recording you. Obvious. And yet this nufty, oh, well, first of all, it's just a random breath test. But second of all, someone's actually called us. So it's not really random, it's targeted. This is intimidation. New South Wales police need to call it out and they need to stamp it out. This needs to be stamped out across every state. Queensland police do it as well. Heck, they do it. Stop doing this crap. Stop intimidating the public. The media, as much as I don't like what they're doing, they have the right to go and question. Media have the right to go and they continue to hold people accountable. As we've seen in Queensland now, our great commissioner, Steve Golchowski, put out that email saying, hey, you've got to report undesirable associates. Part of those undesirable associates now for police are members of the media who Queensland police have designated they don't like, and people who have religious affiliations that Queensland police don't deem reasonable, that they don't like. But who's made these decisions? Queensland police made these decisions. It's members of the media who they don't think are any good. They've made the decision. Someone in Queensland police has said, well, this is the part of the media that we don't want our members talking to, that we don't want them associating with, so they're undesirable media. The trouble is we need the media to hold the police, to hold our government accountable. And when you have rubbish like this, intimidating, brazenly intimidating, the police need to be held accountable. New South Wales police need to be pulling this officer down and investigating him properly. And, a good way of investigating would be don't send other police in to investigate. We need to have separation. Otherwise, you have what ended up happening in Queensland here with David Lynch. When Ethical Standards went and investigated him for drink driving, but forgot to actually gather the evidence before charging, and then the whole thing gets dropped. Nothing to see here. Anyway, that's my opinion. He hasn't done that. Police officer hasn't done anything correctly in his procedures. In reality, there was nothing random about it. It was targeted. It was intimidation. New South Wales police needs to stamp it out. I'm Jay Fallon. You let me know what you think, and thanks for listening to The Slippery Slope. And again, thank you for Oz Police Scandals.
And say it isn't real, and please don't go away. Just give me one more day. could, what if I could turn back time? I'd make you smile again. And if I could unbreak your heart, and we could start again. What if I could? What if I could turn back time? I'd make you smile again. And if I could unbreak your heart, and we could start again. We could start again. We could start again. We could start again.